Okay, where do we start?
Hello
Hello
everyone,
everyone, I'm
I'm
Nitin
Nitin
from
from
Edupreneur
Edupreneur
Village.
Village.
As
As
some
some
of
of
you
you
might
might
know,
know,
Edupreneur
Edupreneur
Village
Village
is
is
one
one
of
of
the
the
first
first
venture
venture
capital
capital
funds
funds
in
in
India,
India
which
which
invests
invests
in
in
edtech
edtech
companies
companies
at
at
early
early
stages.
stages.
We're
We're
strongly
strongly
backed
backed
by
by
Sri
Sri
Aurobindo
Aurobindo
Society
Society
Pondicherry,
Pondicherry,
and
and
Sri
Sri
Aurobindo
Aurobindo
Society
Society
Pondicherry has
Pondicherry has
got
got
very
very
strong
strong
lineage
lineage
for
for
the
the
last
last
70
70
years,
years,
having
having
done
done
some
some
phenomenal
phenomenal
work in
work
the
in the
field
field
of
of
education.
education.
So
So
we
we
not
not
only
only
invest
invest
in
in
education
education
startups
startups
at
at
early
early
stages,
stages,
but
but
we
we
also
also
help
help
them
them
scale
scale
up
up
through
through
the
the
massive
massive
education
education
network
network
of
of
Sri
Sri
Aurobindo
Aurobindo
Society.
Society.
Um, right
Right
now,
now,
we
we
are
are
running
running
Edupreneur
Edupreneur
Village
Village
Challenge,
Challenge,
which
which
is
is
a
a
business
business
plan
plan
competition,
competition, our
our
first
first
flagship
flagship event
event
in
in which
which
we
we
are
are
inviting
inviting
all
all edtech
edtech
startups
startups
as
as
well
well
as
as
aspiring
aspiring
edtech
edtech
entrepreneurs
entrepreneurs
to
to
submit
submit
their
their
capital
capital
business
business
plans
plans
to
to
us.
us.
We'll
We'll
select
select
top
top
25
25
of
of
them,
them,
and
and
then
then
we'll
we'll
work
work
with
with
them
them
to
to
create
create
a
a
fundable
fundable
business
business
plan.
plan.
And
And
not
not
only
only
that,
that,
we
we
will
will
then
then
invest
invest
in
in
some
some
of
of
them
them
up
up
to
to
about
about
1.5
1.5
CR.
CR.
There
There
is
is
an
an
option
option
for
for
a
a
round
round
up
up
to
to
25
25
lakhs,
lakhs,
plus
plus
whole
whole
host
host
of
of
cash
cash
prizes,
prizes,
plus
plus
facility
facility
to
to
work
work
out
out
of
of
our
our
incubation
incubation
facility
facility
here
here
in
in
Delhi.
Delhi.
So
So
without
without
going
going
further,
further,
let
let
me
me
just
just
introduce
introduce
the
the
agenda
agenda
for
for
today.
today.
We're
We're
going
going
to
to
speak
speak
for
for
the
the
next
next
1 hour
1 hour
on
on
the
the
edtech
edtech
opportunity
opportunity
here
here
in
in
India
India
with
with
Ratnesh,
Ratnesh,
which
which
I'll
I'll
introduce
introduce
in a
in a
short
short
while.
while.
Um, we're
We're
going
going
to
to
spend the
spend
first
first
45
45
minutes
minutes
chatting on
chatting on
some of
some
the
of the
key
key
issues,
issues,
and
and
we'll
we'll
leave
leave
last
last
15
15
minutes
minutes
for
for
any
any
question
question
and
and
answers.
answers.
So,
So,
talking
talking
about
about
Ratnesh,
Ratnesh,
he
he
is
is
the
the
managing
managing
director
director
for
for
Cambridge
Cambridge
University
University
Press
Press
for
for
South
South
Asia.
Asia.
He
He
started
started
in
in
this
this
role
role
in
in
2013,
2013
and
and
he's
he's
been
been
instrumental
instrumental
in
in
positioning
positioning
Cambridge as
Cambridge
a
as a
very
very
strong
strong
brand
brand
in the
in the
region in
region in
education
education
ecosystem.
ecosystem.
Well, he
He
wears
wears
multiple
multiple
hats.
hats.
He's
He's
got
got
deep
deep
passion
passion
for
for
education.
education.
He's
He's
a
a
personal
personal
investor
investor
in a
in a
couple
couple
of
of
edtech
edtech
startups
startups
as
as
well.
well.
He's
He's
got
got
an
an
MBA
MBA
degree
degree
from
from
prestigious
prestigious
Clark
Clark
School
School
of
of
Management,
Management,
and
and
a long
long
career
career
spanning
spanning
2 decades.
2 decades.
He's
He's
held
held
senior
senior
positions
positions
in
in
Citibank,
Citibank,
Vodafone,
Vodafone,
Reliance
Reliance
Telecom,
Telecom,
and
and
Edcom.
Edcom.
So,
So
without
without
spending
spending
much
much
more
more
time,
time,
I'll
I'll
hand over
hand
the
over the
floor to
floor to
Ratnesh.
Ratnesh.
Ratnesh,
Ratnesh,
welcome to
welcome to
the
the
EdTech
EdTech uh,
event
event
of
of
Edupreneur
Edupreneur
Village.
Village.
Please
Please
go
go
ahead
ahead
and
and
share
share
your
your
thoughts
thoughts
about
about
the
the
EdTech
EdTech
opportunity
opportunity
here in
here.
India.
Thanks, Nitin. And I'm very glad on a Sunday, sunny winter morning, we're using leveraging technology to reach out to registered 1,500 plus people, and I can see many of them logged in. I think it's a great, real reflection of technology as to how can we connect people across the country and some of them from outside of India, and actually be able to share personal experience plus you. But before I do that, in fact, I have a small story to tell you, folks. My interaction with Aurobindo or Edupreneur, which is now coming into picture, dates back to the summer of last year when we were actually looking at how exactly should we be reaching out to the teacher, and we've been actually going across to the private schools and the government schools to look at a model and the platform where the best engagement of the teacher can happen. And if you talk to educators, one of the link which is really always spoken about and not much is being done is the whole capacity building, the teacher capacity building. And I think many of the policymakers also states that all the time. So when I was going around in different states, I actually stumbled upon a model which is really working very well, which was essentially to be able to take this whole concept of what we call as the innovation pathsala to the teachers and be able to source the material from the teacher and be able to convert that and perhaps run small sort of session where whatever best material which comes, which is understood by many teachers, convert them to a quality paper and then allow other teachers to benefit from them. That actually made me think. Because if I look at India, which is a complex, and sometimes we do talk about a large population and a population dividend, and the number of schools in this country, which is in excess of 1.5 million, universities, 35,000 college, 21,000. Those are those focused colleges in this country. But then when you start actually looking at where exactly this is impacting in terms of our quality and equity, and start stumbling in terms of work, learning outcome, the literacy rate, etc., the teacher becomes a very important sort of medium for doing any of the change if you want to bring both from a quality and equity perspective. So I think I quite liked it, and I think I developed a liking in terms of started to knowing more about Aurobindo and the kind of initiative which they're doing. And I think it looked like that models such as this would actually help, solve many of the complex and the nature of complexity this country actually has. It's a large country, opportunity is huge. If you simply look at one simple metric, which would say that how many lives are you impacting, and if you do put the whole population of Europe and try to see how exactly that ties in with a country such as ours, you'll see the scale which you all are dealing with. So clearly there's an opportunity, there's a headroom for all of us, whether it's an edtech startup or the whole ecosystem of education, both private and public. And I think, but within that, there's a complexity. So while you are very excited to impact life, but how exactly would you be able to come up with the solutions or come up with the models which can actually help the real sort of learners, the real teachers, the whole ecosystem of education. And I think not just really models such as what I saw when I saw Aurobindo made me even more, think more positively that there are many such models can be created. And when Nitin was sharing, both Nitin and Sabran was sharing me about the whole plan of Edupreneur, I quite liked it because in the context of India, I think we've had many stories where you actually can get capital at the latest stage for education startup and based on the value which you create. But there are very little capital available to actually handhold the startup and be able to actually allow them to work both in the private and public space. So all what we have seen is changing private space, which is where we see again a large scale. But is there a way that we can, in a changing time, we can start thinking about creating value and impact, not only in a particular segment of private schools in the board, but also extending that to think that is there a way that we can work with some of these public institutions closely with many models with the policy makers and see can we create more value. So I think it's very apt, Nitin, and we are at the right time. I think if I had to compare India today, I would say that we are actually at a stage where growth is actually looking very forward, and I find education technology, I think it's a very important time because there are many models which is really the need. I would call that as a problem, but I would call that as a need statement of whether the private schools or the public schools or the institutions across the country. So we are at the right time, and I think I feel very excited to be part of such a kind of discussion such as this.
So great, Ratnesh. A good start. Let me just jump to some of the more specific nuances of Indian edtech story. So recent KPMG report pegs Indian edtech market to reach $2 billion by 2021. While these are very enticing numbers as such, but can you possibly simplify for our audience what exactly does it mean? And give you a sense of comparison, as in where does Indian edtech stand today compared to China, and so that it will give us a sense of where India would reach in the next 3 to 4 years in terms of edtech.
Sure. So you are asking me two questions. One is what is Indian edtech today here, and how does it compare with the different geography, specifically with China? So I would actually change that whole KPMG report and start not looking only from $1 billion opportunity in this country, because we've seen many opportunity. We've seen $1 billion opportunity in different sectors. So in the last many years, as in the 5 to 7 years, we've seen real intervention happening in the retail space. Really, we have $1 billion companies there. We have within the motorable taxi space, aggregation has happened. That's going to see $1 billion story there. We've seen $1 billion recently story in the space, the model which is very path-breaking coming out of India. We've seen a recent sort of exit of education startups, which is really very, very enticing and very exciting. And I think all of you know the name without even taking the names. I see that the matrices which we should be looking at is beyond the $1 billion. We should be looking at how many lives are here. And I think that relates to, and just say, even if you relate it to 2-3 pound or another story, at a very bottom of pyramid story in India, you suddenly see that real value is getting created. So I think, I think from an Indian ecosystem perspective, I would say the need statement clearly has been articulated today. That is because suddenly the society is actually becoming a knowledge economy. So there is a clear aspiration of individuals, aspirations of learners, aspirations of teachers, aspirations of institutions to do more and therefore set the benchmark. Unlike the other industry, education technology or education itself is it has both the value, which is $1 billion, plus also the impact. So it's not very simple one-on-one sort of mathematics to say that can I create this and therefore this. I think I would say that this space really also creates this value of whether have you impacted the life from a long-term perspective. So therefore, I think I would say the headroom within the country, all the space, whether you are operating in the K-12 space, whether you are in the higher education space or you are in the skill space, is huge. And the sheer number actually states that. What is it which is required and the need statement has really actually discovered, and that discovery process is essentially a play of policymakers, play of institutions, play of the edtech or any startups, and be able to place that to scale up right. And if you actually get that right, even at the price of India, Nitin, I would say that scale looks like clearly. I say that because I've seen the models being developed. You've seen $1 billion story, and it's really a story of scale rather than a story of only pricing. It's impact and scale both. So I think that's just said for India. I would say we were 6-7 years behind what has been created in some of the other geography in Asia, and I think we see a lot of them now listed as a $1 billion entity in NASDAQ in the US market. And I think there are various models coming, not only in the education space. I mean, you were never imagining a simple streaming solution that be valued $75 billion, which is really the value of many of the institutions. So I think it's a great place, great time right now. I think really for the education startup, the initial startup where you actually reaching out as an entrepreneur. I think what we need to be very simple. We should be actually articulating that need statement, right? We should absolutely be making sure that we should be seeing that the need statement is agreed across the ecosystem, whether the policies makers or the institution or the learners, the teacher, and then be able to actually scale that is the story which we need to actually be seeing as we move forward from here.
So. Thanks for that, Ratnesh. So just to add on to that, to give a sense of potential to the audience. In China we have more than 10 companies in edtech which have a valuation of $1 billion. In India we have Byju's. In China, more than 20 edtech companies have more than $50 million. And again, we have one here in China. So you would imagine what we can become in 5-6 years in Indian edtech, and I'm sure many of you are to be the ones who will create that story. So, what are the key drivers that you feel are fueling growth in India? Something was not happening in edtech some years before, which is now just starting to happen, and this is a tipping point for that.
See, there is a straight correlation to growing economy. So all of us know that as the economy grows, you start seeing many changes, many intervention, many startups, many innovation starts happening. And I think what you've seen in China is not sheer education startup. They're actually talking very high in terms of artificial intelligence and machine learning. They're talking about many of the platform business doing extremely well. They're scaling up organization outside of China, which is Chinese originated organization. I think the difference, I would say to begin with, and then I'll come back to what's pure, what is actually helping India. I think the difference in India, as I said in the beginning, it is also complex. Now, if you look at sheer volume of internet penetration, and it's talked about that by 2022, that this country will have more than 1 billion sort of users. And I think out of that, good 60-70% of that users is actually on a local language. Now, if you have Indian languages right, across the country, which makes it complex sometimes, then I think, and also the opportunity. I mean, if you really see the complexity raising the opportunity for you, is really a good correlation to think or to start in terms of seeing India different than any. So you see a lot of idea which you can actually bring it here, which is the arbitrage idea. But there are a lot of ideas that you need to generate from here. I mean, the fact that you could actually talk with an organization or a startup which actually caters to this whole language dimension is absolutely removed. So I think clearly Indian opportunity within the whole ecosystem of education today is getting fuel, which is what your question was. Is because of a technology economy which is growing very well. Some of the infrastructure is really addressed in terms of internet penetration, the DWSS. Some of the constraints we still have in terms of predictable policy in the education space. Should we be making better? Absolutely yes. Should we be allowing the startup ecosystem to actually, help building that story in education? Absolutely yes. And I think that raises the question both sides, which is both the startup responsibility as well as the responsibility for the institution and for the policymakers. And I think if we can start seeing that policymakers, institutions start allowing that space for startups to come in, and we start solving those problems of the need statement, and then the startup starts making it nimble, and focused in terms of operationally very excellent, and also make sure that it comes with agility and comes with a real set of simple solutions, which really helps users and the learners to go fast. I think that just would really kind of allow scale happening in this country. So very uniquely placed, but also with the clear headroom. Clearly a solution can be as simple and can address the problem statement of the institution or wherever the learners or the educators are, would allow the startup folks to scale from here.
Sure. So, I've often seen some of the innovative models outside India, and there's a natural urge to just adopt those business models and just scale them up big time in India. It's an arbitrage, right? What are those fancy business models which have been in India so far? If you were to name top 2 or 3, which possibly can become big in India?
Yeah, I mean, I think the focus is very, very critical, as you rightly said. Having said that, I think that if I had to name few, I would actually say even the simple solution. What you've seen in the recent set of exit, very composite solution of in the K through 12 space where the play of content and assessment, wrap around and actually executed well, it's actually done very well, and it's actually allowed the evolution to happen. I would say in the future, I would say the data would play a very important role. I think anything to link with data would actually have a very, very relevant role. I think the assessment linked to a real learning path. Typically, if you see a journey of a learner, from one place to the other, is a function of right set of bespoke content given so that they can consume well and understand that well, and at the same time also be able to diagnose it well, to be able to help personalizing some of those learning paths and be able to take them from one place to the other would actually mean would create a lot of value. I would say a classic set of front of class learning management system is basic now. It is expected. A layering solution which can allow many APIs to work together and then also be able to give a real value for teachers and educators would create a value clearly. The intervention of some of those AI machine learning kind of a thinking blend with a traditional set of content where would actually can create very very lot of value. And I would say, even now in India, a lot of these headrooms are essentially around the fact that the scale has not been reached, to various parts of the ecosystem. So what you've seen in the private school is really not gone to let's say a budget school. So the opportunity for the same set of content, rich content to go to the budget school, rich assessment to go to the budget school, data-driven services to go to the budget, to various spectrum of the schools. And I think then combined with some of the latest set of technology would actually help. And if there are startups thinking in those areas, I think what they need to do is to be able to be very focused, and we make sure that they do it well before they start thinking about scaling it up. Once you do one model well, and actually we've seen many times in India, then it becomes easier for you to scale.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, we all look forward to an end-to-end model in India where a basic layer of ERP is there in every school, and then all the fancy incremental products which are by the entrepreneurs like adopted, right? So we often see apps like quizzes in the US where you reach 1 million users in 1 year, and that is unthinkable in India, right? Isn't it?
Yeah. So I think, Nitin, I would say the model in India is going to be unparalleled, and which is why the opportunity for the startup folks. I would say it's not going to be fair for India to compare oneself to whether US or Europe or to China. I mean, what perhaps worked in the US did not work in China. What is working in China is not working in the UK. I mean, I think India with the complexities and with the whole ingenuity of the fact that there are a lot of engineers, skills are really pervasive, available here. If you could actually be able to solve the issue by actually engaging the ecosystem of learners, engaging the ecosystem of some of these institutions by actually getting the right set of incentive realized, in also helping the policy makers to actually scale it better. I think those are the ones which actually create value for the learners, and be obsessive about learners, be obsessive about the teachers who actually create value. Because by the end of the day, the problem with this country essentially has not significantly changed. And it will change with the economy growing, but it has to change with the basic set of intervention in the teaching space, the capacity building space, the data-driven set of personalized learning space. Be able to get those whole problems in the different ecosystem of education. Be able to make sure that each of these treated as a segment, and then allow that to really come to a stage where you could actually talk about a platform.
Sure. So, education is special. Education business is special. The gestation period was so long, and there are some very unique aspects about the tech industry in itself. Consumer and customer are different. There is an element of immediate gratification. So what students learn today ends up benefiting them only many years later. And hence, they don't appreciate the importance of education and tech products, and hence are not inclined to pay for it. And there's always an element of status quo. Businesses are running, schools, colleges, coaching institutes. What more can you achieve by buying one more edtech product? So these challenges are going to stay. We can't change them. But let's now focus on some of the things which probably we can change and we can impact and we can take care of. And I often see huge number of edtech startups trying to sell to institutions, right, to schools, to colleges, and we're not going to focus on why it's difficult to sell to schools. We all know it's very difficult, right? The decision-making cycles are so long. Schools are bombarded with dozens of tech pitches every week, and then there's a fee cap, right? So if there's a fee cap mandated by government, how much more can you absorb in terms of cost? With this kind of scenario and so difficult B2B scale, what are your recommendations? Being the head of the university press, I'm sure you have many insights on how to sell. You sell to many thousands of schools.
I think the question that you're asking is a very fundamental question, and I think clearly the institutional sale in education is it has its own limitation. It's not something which is really not doable. But not most of the time, within the mistake which we make, and I think we've been doing that mistake as well. We start seeing this whole cycle in the context of a very small subsegment of this country. So if you to imagine the private school space, in the K through 12, or the private colleges space in the higher education, or the private skill space within the skill space, I think we start defining the nature of our businesses based on that. See, this country today offers you three things. One, clearly a capacity, the headroom. Right, so this is the first time you actually have an opportunity to work not only with the private school, also work with the states and state boards and within the K through 12 space to create real value. So that's one, which is really with the question of capacity. Second, it also offers you depth in terms of within the education. So, for example, if you look at private school itself, if you do go to private school and go with a solution which really helps the learner, there's still a lot of ask from the school. So what we do is we start defining it with this set of schools which really have many technology playing, but then there are schools within the K through 12 space, even in the private side, really looking for a right set of solution which can help them take the learners to a journey, or can help them in terms of solving the issues of what teachers really going through in terms of kind of sourcing content, or making sure there's a bespoke assessment, or making sure some learning outcome is taken. That's the second aspect. The third aspect, which is important for us as an education technology or ecosystem, for us to realize that while school, getting inside school could really be difficult, but if you to actually create value and we demonstrate that value on a consistent basis, you become a part of the ecosystem of that particular school. And I think at some point in time, the school realizes those solutions, they can't actually they can't work without those solutions. So I think if we actually dimension the capacity which scales beyond private to the other space, which is where the scale is, second, to be able to go deeper, and the third, to be able to make sure that you really create value which is deeply embedded inside the school, and then to be able to go to using digital media and whole strength of technology to go at scale, could really be a model which can help our startups today.
Sure. So, Ratnesh, I've often seen another startups in tech who say that, well, we are not B2B, we are B2B2C. And of course, it's a very enticing proposition because you make school your partners, they sell to parents, and both of you share the rewards. But often we see that the relationships do not last very long because of obviously, the incentives began to stretch themselves out between the schools and the tech startups. And we see the models failing very often. So what is your recipe to manage that in a relation, to make sure the B2B2C works well?
See, I think Nitin, I remember the famous Warren Buffett's quote, which he says that either if you're a ballet company, you should do ballet good, or if you're a rock and roll company, you should do rock and roll well. You can't be going to the public saying you're a ballet company but can do a rock and roll and therefore be able to confusing the people. Let's understand, you're a startup, right? You're a frugal startup. You have less money. Your burn is important. Your agility should be high. You need to be understanding your space, right? So if you to clearly understand it's a B2B space, spend time and build depth, build relationship, demonstrate that clearly to the schools the value. If you are a B2C space, then also use the current set of technology, leverage it. Unlike the whole myth of the fact that B2B to B2C differentiates because B2C is very expensive and B2B actually creates cash for you. Today, in day and age, with the progressive digital media and the data in this country, actually B2C is not that expensive. And I think if you fundamentally believe that B2C is where the value is, where you can raise money, please do not confuse to go B2B to C or B2C or B2C to D. That's just saying ballet and rock and roll story. I mean, just be one where you want to create value and make sure that you spread. You might go tomorrow from B2B to a next product. I mean, case in example, you have the largest billion-dollar company which we're talking about without naming. The story was not about B2B, B2C. It actually was a journey which took them there. So please do not confuse at the startup stage by actually handling many issues because you have a very limited bandwidth, limited cash, and I think you're not right now scale. When you have a large capital, you are actually gone into A or B series or raising fund. That's when you start thinking about, can I have multiple channels? Can I do a multimodal thinking? So I think that's just not my personal view about that. I think as much focus as in the beginning as we could, it will add more value.
Sure. So, without showing any prejudice for one model over the other, personally, I also feel that B2C is going to give you exponential growth, especially when now Indian ecosystem is ready for it. So now let's focus on B2C now, if that is what is going to be flavor of the season with investors. There is a inherent trade-off or problem there, we've seen massive adoption in casual and hobby learning categories, right? But we all know that the consumers are willing to adopt those products or use those products, but don't want to pay for them. On the other hand, we see products like Byju's or MOOCs where people are ready to pay massive money, but they don't adopt, they don't use, so they don't end up renewing their contracts. And this also makes me compare with China, where if people like something, they pay for it. But in India, people don't want to pay for good stuff. So, what is your secret sauce to make Indian customers pay for tech?
I would say one word: value. That's the only word. If you're obsessed about value, if you're obsessed about customer journey, if you're obsessed about making sure that you are solving that customer need, I understand the problem with the payment in India is not a function of only the fact that they do want the best value and the best real need solving solution, but also the function of economy. I think today we are at a very good stage of actually seeing some of these real set of product solution help solving these needs. And as the take-up of the economy happens, you start seeing that your solution starts getting adoption higher and you start actually getting many of those lives impacted. And I'll go back to my story of impacting life. If you do impact the life of millions, and even if you get a $2 or $3, imagine the kind of revenue you're generating and then translate that in terms of making the value from the market. I think the story of China 10 years back was no different, or 5 years back, no different than what we are today. And I think as we go along, actually being obsessed about value, being obsessed about customer. Having said that, also obsessed about the input matrices. Are you frugal? Are you making sure that you are operationally agile? Are you making sure that scale means arbitrage? Scale does not mean start investing because you have a side of the capital. I think all of that is very true for education startup today, and I think many of the organizations are already demonstrating some of these attributes, and I'm sure we will in the near future see many wins happening and many of those stories of both impact and valuation to be coming true.
Sure. So, so at this point of time in our conversation today, I want to focus on another very pertinent issue, which is how to reach, the bottom of the pyramid as far as tech is concerned. You see, we all know India has got 30 crore students K-12, out of which 21 crore are in government, and another 8 9 crore are in private schools. And what we have is 3 lakh to 1 crore students who are in the affluent school category, if you will. And we see most of the edtech started focusing on those kind of students only. So I have two questions here. What are the kind of edtech products which need to be developed to cater to the bottom of the pyramid? And second is, can we ever reach them profitably? How can we tap that fortune bottom of the pyramid?
So I think it's a very interesting question. I think two aspects of the question. As an Indian, if I think about solving these issues, it excites me. But also the fact that we are all working, and we need to make sure that we actually balance it with both the impact and value needs to be balanced. I would see it in a little different way, and this is where I started with the model of what you have demonstrated as Aurobindo across the country. And I think which is where the capacity building is today happening. I think India is uniquely placed in few things, and I think we should absolutely recognize that. One is our mobile penetration across the country. The smartphones which are going, at some point in time we were talking about $100 to $70. Today we're looking at $30, $40. Handsets to be provided. You are seeing that in a household, many of those handsets, the smartphones are there already. We are very uniquely placed in terms of our data. You see after the geo democratization of data has really happened, you see that progressive across. You visibly see that. I mean, until about last 2 years, we were talking about that's what happened, or 2 to 3 years back, but today it's a reality. You see that's really there. I think it's a good time for us as an ecosystem of education and startup to think about as to how do we leverage these set of inputs which we have and allow us to scale. India in the next foreseeable years will be a story of scale. And I think if you scale and then balance it with the real set of pricing, which is kind of vibing to this market, I think you will start seeing the difference being made and many of those value being created into what we call at the bottom of the pyramid. Because I think also the thrust is that our average per capita is increasing, disposable incomes coming. That pie which you talked about, very small, is increasing. The whole middle class is increasing, and therefore disposable income, which is what the China story was, is increasing too. So I think as that phenomena is happening, and as you start looking at control on cost, making sure that you actually make operationally agile, good quality product available at a low price. And kind of a balance with those solutions if you could do it with other geography as well, because as a startup you also need to manage the cash flow, etc. And try see if you could balance that. And then see it from a long-term perspective, that as it starts giving yield at some point in time, which is what the tipping point for you, I think then the story of large valuation, etc. will come through immediately after that.
Sure. Thanks for that. Finally, I'll probably try to explore what is a good showstopper, which is to look at the crystal ball. And what, in your opinion, is going to strike big in India in the next 5 years or so?
See, I think I'll talk in terms of education, and I think it was a very overarching sort of large question. I would say education. I think clearly the learning outcome, and whether that means data, AI, ML, LMS, or apprentice class. I think anybody will actually be able to take a learner or an educator from A to B in terms of journey, and a real set of journey, not something which is really, if you do in our publishing, in our publishing or the education solution ecosystem, we talk about blooms. taxonomy. And I think if you see at the bottom of the Bloom's taxonomy is where the remembering what learning happens, and then the reflection happens at the tip of that pyramid. I would say if I follow that whole grid of Bloom's taxonomy, I think there is a real story which is getting created of allowing the learners to be able to move from that remembering about learning to go on a journey to reflect and start looking at many of those thinking which we're talking about, which is really other geography started doing again, and I think our policy maker will take note of it. I mean, the fact that we've had a recent announcement about, let's just make sure that we should have a lesser subject, focus on some subjects should be more, allow the students to reflect, allow the teachers to be less burdened. It's happening in Singapore, it's happening in Finland. Why should you not be the first one to have here? So I think any startups or any of the intervention essentially aligned in that space, which talks about data, which talks about real learning outcome, which talks about a journey of a learner or educator from one place to the other, and clearly demonstrate whether would you learn that with a gamified platform, whether would you do that with real set of engaging content. All that is for me is a medium, but I think if anybody as an organization holistically approaches in that, which is where the vision of the organization is, absolutely do. I see a great future for them from time to come.
Sure. Thanks for that. So with that, we wrap up the discussion between myself and Ratnesh. But I'll throw open the floor for questions. So I think we still have around 10, 11 minutes left. So folks, feel free to send your questions in the form of the chat, which is currently live. And I will probably pose those questions to Ratnesh or try to answer them myself if they are about procedural issues in our Edupreneur Village, etc. So let's see. So yeah, then we are going to answer some of these questions in the next webinar, which is how to raise a VC check for an edtech startup. But I'd really like to pick up your bring on that. You've been an investor in edtech and you've invested in a couple of startups yourself. So very briefly to the audience, what are the key things you look at when you find an edtech startup?
I think it's very simple at the same time, and I think I'm very simple and simple with the investment, but actually that stays very close. I think, as I said, that clearly what is that need which you're solving? That's the first thing, and it's just vibes with the market. Or it's so that's just very well articulated and very simply or elusively put. So that's the first thing. What's the constitution of people who you're solving this with? Whether the set of founders, the advisors who you have on board. So that's the second piece which I should. And then how deep have you gone within that space doing your research? And you might not have a very evolved product, but you do have a line of sight or a vision of where you want to reach. Very well articulated is the third thing which I would actually like to say. So if I get the right set of people with the constitution of founder and the advisors, if your product fit in the market, very well articulated in terms of solving a certain need, it might not be a need of past, it might be a need of future, but very well articulated that. And I think the third one is that how deep have you gone in terms of looking at the market, looking at different geographies, solving, and real data around that. And these are the three things which is really first sort of my, you can go into the detail of many other things as well, but these are the three things.
Sure. So Ratnesh, we're getting a lot of questions regarding what are the possible synergies with the edtech startups in this audience. Can I have a Cambridge University test?
No, so the reason why I'm doing this is, this will also be able to build this whole, ecosystem where you can actually, as far as the organization, as we actually are extremely, while we are extension of the university, we are extremely innovative, very agile. Most of the time we are effort as a university, but we also should know that a lot of innovation within the university happening. Since we are extended part of the university, we continue to be part of those many innovation interventions happening. I think the reason why I'm here today is essentially also to allow a lot of you to open up that discussion with us and see not only from India perspective, should we be working on a model where we can actually equal our scale and reach outside of India, across the globe? Should we be able to create some value which can help us to solve the real issue in the market? So if it does help the learner, if it does help the teacher, if it does help the real institution, we will be very keen to actually partner with you and help you scale. And I think we absolutely open about it. Nitin or I'm reachable on my mail, or my team is there. All the time engaging in these kind of platforms. You're most welcome to, connect with them and make sure that we actually create some real value together.
Sure. That's okay, Ratnesh. Some of these startups are working in rural areas in India. And this is a question to some from a few. What's your advice for techs in rural areas?
I think the whole notion of areas is actually not correct. Now, in a time and age right now, I think we are working in a technology, highly developed technology, one-on-one set of technology where people are connecting from anywhere to anywhere. The progressive bandwidth, the fact that you are actually seeing us live, we talk to you, it means that we'll be there with you. So I think that is no more true. That could be true because your market can be small. It might have a lesser realization happening at this point in time, but do not allow that to digress you from what your vision and what you're solving. If you do have a real idea, if you're solving a need or a problem statement, make sure that being absolutely passionate about it. And I think organizations such as ours and many more would help you to scale from anywhere to anywhere. I mean, I think I was talking about this when I was in the Israel Education Technology Conference. That see some of these nations done so well despite having nothing to them. So here you have real natural resources combined with the whole digital and data strength today. Please do not limit yourself to think big and think global and think scale. Please do not limit yourself to think in a smaller geography. You should think that your problem you should be solving a need statement and problem statement, and that's true across the geography.
Sure, thanks. I'm actually quite overwhelmed to see the range of questions here. And these are very pertinent questions which, we often miss. And one of them is there's a huge unorganized education sector in India. When I say unorganized means, where maybe you hire teachers and that means being as optimal or outside the formal recognized education network. So, what is your advice for edtech startups when they deal with that kind of unorganized education sector in India?
See, if everything would have been organized, you and me perhaps not been having this webinar. So I would say start with that premise. I think the fact that it is fragmented, the fact that it is unorganized, the fact that it is less optimal, which is why you and me require for us to solve the problem. So I was watching the interview of Ritesh of OU, and which he talks about the fact that and this is one of the old interviews, and when he says that when he used to go to Mumbai, one of the greatest problems which he faced is that the hotels were not affordable. But when he would go to those hotels, they were actually suboptimal in terms of providing you the basic facility. So he saw the need there, and therefore started with some concept which was not the concept existing anywhere else in the world, and then solve that in a way that today you see collectively ITC, Taj, and everything put together. That's the valuation OU has. So I think if there is a problem, there is a need. That's why the solution exists. The fact that it is unorganized, the fact that it's fragmented, the fact that teacher capacity, for example, in education, is not really so organized. I'm sure I'm looking forward somebody is going to disrupt, and I think that disruption is going to happen in India. I don't know whether it's Windows model of actually making that, sort of creating a crowdsourcing or any other model. I think the other thing is important for you guys to know that the capital is not only traditional anymore. I mean, it is not only a capital which is going to come in from classic set of VC and private equity. You have the CSR money, you have the real good long-term VC funding like Edupreneur, which essentially talks about in terms of strategic funding sort of coming. I think you should have more and more capital coming in the future, and given that capital being available, you should start thinking, getting those unorganized and fragmented to a real organized story, and therefore take this knowledge economy to the next level. I think that's the story which we should really.
Sure. So now we come down to another question, which is, is there a market for life skills and sports, for example, in schools? We often find, the school owners or parents willing to pay for marks or cracking the test or securing any kind of edge for jobs or anything of that sort. But what about life skills in sports? They don't essentially translate to the tangible outcomes that parents are looking for.
See, I again, going a little philosophical here. I think I read this given by one of the founders of a company. He gave me a book which is written by a psychologist called Daniel Kahneman. Last long, I forgot the title of the book, but he talks about the system 1 and system 2. In the system 2 is about solving why, and system 1 is about what, which is today. If you are looking at life skills in sport, you're actually making the country healthy. You're making this country look good. So knowledge economy cannot happen unless you do not actually have a real these intervention happening. Whether it's a 21st century skills or whether it's sports skills. I think, I would refer everybody to read the book. It's called Thinking Slow and Fast. And I think clearly if you solving why, and if you actually get yourself out of the normal rut of seeing only the test prep company and the company which is usually based on assessment doing well, if you see long term, I for me myself is a strong believer that some of these skills are actually going to come into India as well. It's coming to many other nations. So if you see very recently, Singapore actually, which was an epitome of rote learning in terms of reproducing and making sure that test results look good, is really started thinking in terms of changing the whole model and seeing that can it really be more cohesive, more sort of every other skills get developed and develop a new citizen, which is actually our mindfulness and what can it do better. I mean, I have my own example of my daughter who plays tennis, and I see her developing in the way that absolutely I see a difference between her and the many other kids who I see. She's more mindful. She looks at things more holistically. I think there is absolute space. It's difficult to kind of, as I hear from you, to kind of realize the real value, whether monetary value, and I think other people ready to pay for that. I think it's a demonstrable model, which essentially could actually link to well-being of the students across the ecosystem. Sure, there are models existing at that time, and if you do work, you could create a list for yourself, and that itself could really be a great model for you to scale.
Sure. Thanks, Ratnesh. So I'm going to take next couple of minutes to answer some of the procedural questions related to Edupreneur Village Challenge. And so let me just explain that end to end. So folks, this was the first webinar which Edupreneur Village has conducted on the EdTech opportunities in India. There's going to be a second webinar on 28th October, wherein we will talk about specifically fundraising. How can you crack a VC check for your EdTech startup? So Harman, who's the founder of VisIQ, who's raised $15 million for his EdTech startup, and who was the original poster boy of Indian EdTech story, is going to talk about his experiences. Following that, by 4th of November, we would be expecting you guys to submit your two-page business plan summaries on edupreneurvillage.com website. If you face any technical issues, you can reach out to us at info@edupreneurvillage.com, or you can call at the number provided on the website. We'll do everything to help you out. By 14th of November, we'll be declaring results. We'll be selecting top 25 startups out of you. And we'll work with those 25 startups over the next 1 month or so to create a fundable business plan. We'll find a business plan. We'll work with you. We'll create a sort of a shared vision between Edupreneur Village Fund and yourself. And those folks then will be allowed to pitch in front of our investment committee on 16th of December. And that's when we select the top five. And it's not that the remaining people lose out. We will work with you also in the long run and help you refine your business models and help you come up in terms of your business to a point where we can support you and where we find that there could be synergies which we can provide to our ecosystem. For people who do not know, Shri Aurobindo Society is running a teacher innovation program called Zero Investment Innovations in Education Initiatives. So ZII, EI is serving more than 3 lakh government schools. More than 20 lakh schools are a part of it. We have MOUs with more than 25 states of India to implement this program. And not only this, the understanding is for holistic education transformation. So not only then do we invest at early stages in edtech startups, but because of our education focus, we stand in a much better position to provide deep insights about edtech. And finally, of course, we can provide a lot of distribution support and help your startups scale up in the education ecosystem we have. We are a pretty new fund, so we have capital to deploy. We started about 6-7 months ago, and Scholar is a Mumbai-based artificial intelligence company in K-12. That is our first investment. So guys, look forward to hear back from you. Please join us for the webinar next week, and don't forget to submit your business plans on the 4th of November. Finally, I just like to apologize for a few audio-related glitches, and I hope as the webinar progressed, we were able to solve some of them out. And I promise, we'll get better at this next time around. So Ratnesh, I sincerely want to thank you for giving time to us on a Sunday from a very, very busy schedule. I know that personally because we are working with you at multiple other places as well. So guys, thanks for your time. I hope you were able to find it useful. We will get the link sent out to you so that you can go through it at the comfort of your home. Bye-bye. Thank you. Godspeed.